guys are meat-eating and rip-snorting.
Where's Ed Wood? He can whip out a 10-minute question.
I could get Snake on the phone.
How's this? You see, when something, say like a headphone amplifier or something like that, first comes out, there's initial impressions of it. And how much do you see that, you know, how much does it resolve towards a final impression of how good the actual amplifier is?
What is the flavor of the month effect?
Yeah.
Or how much success do you have to have before people turn against you?
I don't know, it's always been that way for me.
Anyone?
Flavor of the year? I love it when everybody says it's good. And I hate it when I see somebody just says something. that makes me sad, but there's nothing. There's always those people who would get their own way of hearing things. They will say something right or something positive that we like to, as a manufacturer, you enjoy to hear really. And we're all human. We all like to hear something nice about our products, especially if you're, you know, if it puts bread on your table. Let's put it that way. And when you hear, for one person doesn't hear the products at all, but if the consistency of that particular person keeps on posting over and over and over and over and trying to hurt you, just meaning to hurt your product, that has its effect really on the community. But if your product is good enough and it can withstand all that kind of, you know, I would call it bad times, and it exceeds the purpose that it was created, it will overcome all that difficulties that that particular person or people put into it, and your product will shine again. And if it's done right, there's no product or flavor of the month at all. I'll look at it this way: if something is done right, no matter how many years goes over, and people listen to it, says this thing really sounds good because it was done right. So for flavor of the month, yes, it's exciting to a lot of people at the beginning. But if it's done right, that flavor of the month keeps on going, really, and it's done right enough. And that's what I believe in.
But before we go on, can I ask the house staff to shoot that tenor? The audio is definitely interfering with our ability to hear.
I already picked that up.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Anybody else on the dreaded flavor of the month?
I think that it's just something that really exemplifies how passionate everyone, how passionate people are, and how serious they are about the music. And that's really what causes this whole effect. Is such a large part of people's activity, daily evening activity, and that would be very passionate about it, and that's just how it is.
I think to a large extent we're toy makers. And no, really, I mean, we make toys for adults. These aren't things they need to save their lives or anything like that. And so they're toys. And so 1 year, you know, emo or whatever the heck it is the you know, the big seller at the store, and we can put it on the shelves. And then here it goes away as the big story. But there's still the little, you know, so many percent of little kids buy the little emo doll. So, I mean, they're toys. It's very attractive.
What's disturbing is I found the Elmo toys. I find the concept of an emo doll even more frightening.
You mean that little guy in the black t-shirt with the black hair over one eye that I had in my crib as a kid wasn't Elmo?
But he was just as whiny. Did you want to follow up?
Yeah, one last word. You know, the bottom line is the reason there is a flavorful market is because nobody can listen to this stuff before they buy it. So where do they get the information? How do they know what to buy? Well, they have to ask.
Well, I remember when I got my first non-fan letter at Stereophile. And this guy wrote in, he said that I was stupid, I couldn't hear, and my mother dressed me funny. I was just looking at it, devastated, because I had put so much work into that review. And John Atkinson just smiled. He said, you know what that means that you have, that the guys at TAS don't? And I said, what? He said, readers. So, you know, when you get, somebody at least bought the thing, they had an opinion,
Yep.
and they paid their money, they get their choice.
Let's have a two-part question.
Sure.
Two-part question. The first question is, what headphones are you using to evaluate the amplifiers that you make? And the second question is there ever a product that's released that you say, oh, I should make an amp to go with that because I think I could sell a lot of them?
HD 700.
Sennheiser.
I go through a whole series of them. I have, I mean, some of them I don't even like, but I still use them to listen to the amplifier. And of course, where's the AKG guy? The K1000. He's gone.
So is it.
I think the most neutral and correct neutral headphone, dynamic headphone is the new 701, and it does need the 300 hours of Reagan and whatnot. I think that the UE10 is better as an in-ear monitor. I mean, I think the best audio reproduction on headphones I've ever heard is on the UE10. I don't use the UE10 to evaluate most headphone amplifiers, although we do listen to it on the portables, because you have to be able to drive in-ear monitors. I think the Sennheiser 650 gets a bad rap on the Veil. I think Sennheiser actually created a headphone that is so clean in its frequency response and so well thought out. And I've been to the factory and talked to them. There's a couple little dips on the frequency response chart, and they engineered those in there. They believe that they need to be there for pinner reflections and whatnot. And although I think if they had just gotten that curve a couple dB higher on the high end, it would be a better headphone than the 701, because I think the 701 is a little ragged. So I mostly use 701s for listening to headphones.
Well, please.
Usually I use the Sennheiser 650s, the AKG 701s, Grado RS1s, and then whatever really sensitive IEM I can find. I think that's a pretty good combination to try.
Well, here's, okay, Greg.
As a reference, we use our own build headphone.
Really?
Yes, we have built 3. It's not so difficult to build an outstanding headphone. Make one sellable. This is the problem. The look is horrible, it's big and expensive, but works. As a reference, it works both in electrostatic and dynamics. The electrostatics is also very dangerous because the bias is 2000 volts, so that is a little bit dangerous.
So here's a product name if you decide to produce it, call it third rail headphones.
As a standard, because of course we must have the commercial reference, the most used, HD 650, AK 701, Edition 9, Qualia, in different levels, but the most used.
Right? Yep.